Hey guys, so in this video we are trying to understand a 2 by n domino tiling problem. So in the problem you are given a 2 by n grid and you have to find the number of ways to tile the grid with the help of 2 cross 1 dominoes. It's possible to rotate the dominoes in the horizontal or in the vertical way. So for example, let's just try to understand the test cases first. For let's say n is equals to 1. So in this case we need to tile a 2 cross 1 grid over here. So basically the only way to tile this 2 cross 1 grid will be with the help of a 2 cross 1 domino laid down in a vertical fashion, and thus the answer will be equals to 1. Another for, and let's just talk about this test case over here where n is equals to 2. So in this case we need to tile a 2 cross 2 grid over here. So there are two different ways to tile this grid. One way is to lay down the dominoes in horizontal fashion, so we can lay down two dominoes in horizontal fashion. Another way is to lay down two dominoes in vertical fashion. So answer for this test case is equals to 2. Now let's see how we can generalize this this answer for any value n. All right, so for better understanding of that, let's just clean this up over here first. All right, for n equals to 1 I know that answer equals to 1. For n equals to 2 I know that answer is equals to 2. All right, so let's try to see how we can extend this to any value n. All right, so let's say that we have a 2 cross n grid over here. So how do we actually tile this entire grid up? All right, so let's just have a look at this first position over here of this grid. All right, so there are only two different ways I can tile this first position over here. The first way is that I can choose a vertical domino to tile this position over here like this. So I can choose a vertical domino over here to tile this position up over here, and in that case I would have to tile the remaining 2 cross n minus 1 grid. So that is case number 1, and in this case I would have to tile up the remaining 2 cross n minus 1 grid. So the problem will become find the number of ways to tile the 2 cross n minus 1 grid. All right, the second way is I can actually lay down a domino horizontally over here. So if the moment I lay down a domino horizontally over here, it would become quite obvious that I would need to lay down another domino over here in the lower half. So this is the second way that we would have to lay down two horizontal dominoes at this position. So in this case I would have to find the number of ways to tile up the remaining 2 cross n minus 2 grid. All right, so basically let's say that a of n is the number of ways to tile a 2 cross n grid. So with the help of these two cases that we just understood over here, a of n would become a of n minus 1 corresponding to this case over here that we chose a vertical domino. In that case I would have to find the number of ways to tile a 2 cross n minus 1 grid. So that will be equals to a of n minus 1 plus this case over here, the case corresponding to this second scenario over here where we laid down two horizontal dominoes. So in this case answer will be equals to a of n minus 2. So this becomes our recurrence relation over here, and this recurrence relation it's actually a very familiar recurrence relation. It's the recurrence relation of Fibonacci series. All right, so in our case this will be our recurrence relation, and the base cases will be something like the ones we discussed in the sample test case, that is a of 1 equals to 1 and a of 2 equals to 2. You can always choose to have different pair of base case. For example, some can say that I want the base cases as a of 0 equals to 1 and a of 1 equals to 1. So the upper pair of base case is also correct and the lower pair is correct as well. All right, so it just depends on whatever seems more all right to you. All right, whatever you are more comfortable with, you can go with that pair of base case. All right, so this is our recurrence relation and this is our base case. Now the question is, how do we program this up? All right, I have a recurrence relation, I have my base case. So now how do I code this up? So let's just clean this up a bit. All right, so this, let's just slide this base case over here and the recurrence more cleanly. So my recurrence is a of n is equals to a of n minus 1 plus a of n minus 2, and the base case I have is a of 1 equals to 1 and a of 2 equals to 2. All right, so basically to solve this problem we can take multiple approaches. The first one which we'll take in this video is the dynamic programming approach. And the second approach it's the more optimal approach. It's the matrix exponentiation approach, which we will discuss in the coming videos. So basically the second approach, it can solve this problem in log of n time, whereas the dynamic programming approach, it would take linear time to solve this problem up. So since we are discussing dynamic programming in these two sections, we will take the dynamic programming approach to solve this problem. All right, so whenever we are solving a dynamic programming problem, we have already discussed that we follow three steps. The first one is laying down the definition of the state. So in this case I'm going to define dp of I as nothing but a of I, that is the number of ways to actually tile up a 2 cross n grid. Now the second sub problem is actually laying down the recurrence relation, and it would be equals to dp of I equals to dp of I minus 1 plus dp of I minus 2. And why is that? Because if you have a look at the recurrence relation, a of n is equals to a of n minus 1 plus a of n minus 2. So and since dp of I is equals to a of I, dp of I will become dp of I minus 1 plus dp of I minus 2. And the third sub problem was laying down the correct topological order to solve the states in. So in this case the topological order will be, since I already know the value of base cases, I don't really need to solve them. So I need to solve the states in the order 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and up to n. Why? Because if you notice, to solve an ith state, the ith state depends upon I minus first and I minus second state. In the same way, I minus first state depends upon I minus second and I minus third state. So inductively it becomes evident that to solve the ith state, you ideally should have computed all the value of the states less than I. So that's why we are solving the states in an increasing order over here. So that's the reason behind this topological order that we laid down. Now let's see how we can code this problem up over here. All right, so basically to do that, it's actually quite similar to coding up a Fibonacci series problem. So if you want to look at that video over here, so you can go through that as well. So in this video, let's call the function count phase, and it takes an integer value as an input, and I'm assuming this n is greater than equals to 1 in any case. So if n is less than equals to 2, this will become our base case in this case, and I will return n as the answer, because if you notice, dp of 1 is equals to 1 and dp of 2 is equals to 2. So if n is for n less than equals to 2, dp of n is equals to n. All right, now I'm going to actually calculate the value with the help of space optimized dp. I'm going to initialize my base cases first. So int a will be equals to 1. So this a over here is pointing to dp of 1, and this b over here will be equals to 2, and this b will be actually representing dp of 2. All right, now I'm going to iterate over the states in the topological order, that is from int I equals to 3, I less than equals to n, I plus plus. Now at each iteration, what I would do is I would update the value of these variables a comma b in a way such that the variable b is equals to dp of I, and variable a is equals to dp of I minus 1. All right, so if we follow this at the end of the nth iteration, variable b will be equals to dp of n that we are looking for. All right, so how do we do that? So it's very simple. First I will compute the value of dp of I, that is equals to a plus b, where a is equals to dp of I minus 1 in this case, and b is equals to dp of I minus 2 currently. All right, so now I would update the value of a as b, and I would update the value of b as c. So just like that, at the end of the ith iteration, the variable b, it starts pointing at the dp of I, and variable a, it starts pointing at dp of I minus 1. So that's how we proceed with this entire loop over here, and at the end of this loop you can return b. All right, now just for those who are actually having doubt in why we are actually, for those who actually know the fact that the series will be exponential, so actually Fibonacci series grows exponentially. So if for large values of n, this a, the integer c will not, or integer a or integer b, they will not be able to hold the value of this Fibonacci series or the series that we are calculating right now. So in such cases, in the problem, it's actually specified that actually find the value of find the value that we are looking for modulo a prime number or modulo a number, and this number over here ensures that the final answer is actually less than equals, let's say the number that's given is p, so it ensures that the final answer lies in the range 0 to p minus 1, and that fits into the value of range p. So in this case, let's say that we are also given a value p as a parameter. So in this case, all we have to do is update c as a plus b modulo p over here, and that would solve our entire problem over here. All right, so that would actually fix up the problem that of the overflow in case of integers. So that's all for this video, guys. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and thank you for watching this.